Most people spend decades developing skills that nobody notices. Musashi's journey reveals why. He started as an abandoned 7-year-old with no training, yet became Japan's most legendary swordsman through brutal self-discovery. Analyzing his path and the books he left us uncovers 4 core patterns of unstoppable progress. By mastering these elements, you'll accelerate past people with twice your experience and finally get the recognition your skills deserve. And it all starts with the harsh truth about comfort. Part 1. The Gift of Desperation. Miyamoto Musashi's mother died when he was 7. His father, a samurai who should have raised him, looked at his son and walked away, left him with an uncle, a Buddhist monk who made it clear this child was a burden. This is how Japan's greatest swordsman started. No prestigious dojo, no training, no connections. Just an abandoned boy watching real samurai children train through fence gaps while he practiced with sticks. At 13, a traveling samurai named Arima Kihei arrived in town. Trained warrior, real sword, adult. Musashi challenged him with his wooden stick. The abandoned child beat him to death. Not through technique, he had none. Not through strength, he was 13. Through desperate innovation. When no one teaches you the rules, you create your own. When retreat isn't possible, advancement is the only option. Here's the principle. Desperation breeds innovation because it eliminates alternatives. Those comfortable samurai children could be average and survive. They could follow prescribed forms and be respectable. Musashi couldn't afford average. Average meant death. In Dokudo, he wrote, "Accept everything just the way it is, not passive resignation. Strategic clarity. Energy spent fighting circumstances is energy not spent exploiting them." Think about what this meant. No instructor meant every movement discovered through trial and error. No sparring partners meant shadowboxing with death as the price for mistakes. No inherited techniques meant inventing approaches that traditional schools would consider heretical. The comfortable train within boundaries. The desperate discover there are no boundaries. One produces predictable fighters. The other produces revolutionaries who rewrite the rules because they never learned them. This is the paradox. Those with nothing to lose try things that those with something to protect call insane. A trained samurai won't risk his reputation on unconventional techniques. An abandoned child with a stick has no reputation to protect. By 16, Musashi had killed multiple opponents, not despite his lack of training, because of it. The gift of desperation burns away everything non-essential. No energy wasted impressing teachers when you have none. No time perfecting traditional forms when you're inventing your own. Just absolute focus, becoming too skilled to defeat. Modern comfort creates the opposite. Options become excuses. Safety nets become cages. The things meant to help you actually limit growth by removing the desperate edge that forces innovation. When you start with nothing, every improvement is victory. When you have no fallback, every skill becomes essential. When failure means death, mediocrity isn't an option. But desperation without direction creates chaos, which brings us to Musashi's most controversial decision. Part 2. The Power of Not Belonging. Musashi's desperation gave him skills, but it also made him a wild animal. From 15 to 21, he won every fight but gained a reputation as a savage. Skilled violence without refinement, a rabid dog with a sword. After his early victories, established dojos sent invitations. Join us. Learn proper technique. Become respectable. Every single invitation promised the same thing: belonging, security, legitimacy. Musashi rejected them all. In feudal Japan, this was social suicide. A samurai without a master, a ronin, was less than human. No income, no protection, no honor. Yet Musashi chose this path deliberately. At 17, he fought in the Battle of Sekigahara on the losing side. When his army was crushed, survivors had 2 options: surrender and serve the victors, or die. Musashi chose neither. He fled into the mountains and remained masterless by choice. Here's what he understood. Belonging dilutes uniqueness. The moment you join a school, you inherit its limitations. Their techniques become your techniques. Their blind spots become your blind spots. Their style becomes your cage. In the Book of 5 Rings, he wrote, "You must study the ways of all professions, not just swordsmanship, everything." This was impossible if you belonged to one school with one master teaching one way. During his wandering years, Musashi learned from anyone who'd teach an outcast. Zen monks showed him meditation. Artists taught him to see. Craftsmen revealed patience. Farmers demonstrated efficiency. He absorbed it all because he belonged to none of them. This is how he developed Niten-ichi Ryu, his revolutionary 2-sword style. No traditional school taught fighting with 2 swords. It was considered crude, impractical against proper form. But when you belong to no tradition, you're free to create your own. The cost was brutal: constant movement to avoid authorities, sleeping outdoors, eating whatever he could find or kill. No allies when challenged, no reputation to protect him. Every day was survival, but isolation forced innovation. Traditional samurai learned one perspective from one school. Musashi collected perspectives like weapons. A Buddhist breathing technique became combat meditation. An artist's brushstroke informed his sword movement. A farmer's efficiency shaped his footwork. Strategic isolation creates unique value because it prevents contamination by conventional thinking. When everyone else is learning the right way, you're discovering ways they can't imagine. When they're perfecting inherited techniques, you're inventing new ones. This principle cuts deep. The more you belong, the more replaceable you become. Every student in a dojo learns the same forms. Every employee in a company follows the same procedures. Belonging feels safe but makes you interchangeable. Musashi spent these years becoming unemployable by choice. No lord would hire a wild ronin. No school would claim him. He was building something more valuable than employment: irreplaceable skill. By 21, he'd fought dozens of duels with techniques no school taught because no school imagined them. His opponents trained for traditional combat. He gave them something they'd never seen and couldn't counter. This isolation revealed something disturbing. Being different wasn't enough. The third piece would nearly destroy him. Part 3. The Discipline of Obsession. From 21 to 29, Musashi entered what he called Tanren, the forging period. Like a sword beaten thousands of times to remove impurities, he subjected every technique to brutal testing. What survived became part of his way. What failed was discarded. Here's what this means for you. Stop collecting more credentials and start testing what you already know. Musashi would take one technique and use it 100 different ways until it either proved essential or got thrown out. Your skills need the same ruthless audit. He developed Hyoho, total life strategy. Everything became training. Walking taught footwork, eating taught timing, conversation taught reading opponents. No separation between practice and life. The practical application: your commute becomes presentation practice. Difficult conversations become negotiation training. Every interaction teaches something about your craft, not metaphorically, literally. Musashi saw a merchant haggling and learned distraction techniques he later used in duels. The most revealing practice was metsuke, seeing the whole while noticing every detail. Imagine watching a crowd but simultaneously tracking one person's movements, not switching focus, holding both at once. Musashi spent years developing this because it's how you spot opportunities others miss. While everyone focuses on their narrow specialty, you see how your field connects to everything else. While they obsess over details, you understand the system. While they see the big picture, you notice the specific leverage points, both at once. He discovered something disturbing. Technical perfection meant nothing if your spirit broke first. So he cultivated absolute acceptance, ready to fail completely, therefore impossible to intimidate. Not seeking failure, but accepting it as possible in any moment. This translates directly. The person terrified of losing their job negotiates weakly. The one who accepts that possibility negotiates from strength. Musashi applied this to everything. Complete acceptance of the worst outcome paradoxically creates the best results. By 29, Musashi had compressed everything into one principle. All techniques unified into spontaneous response. Not thinking which technique, but letting the situation dictate the response. 8 years of obsessive practice created instinct. For you, stop thinking about which skill to apply. Train so intensely that the right response emerges automatically. Musashi called this no mind. Not empty mind, but mind so prepared that conscious thought becomes unnecessary. The difference between Eastern mastery and Western achievement. No endpoints, no good enough. Musashi approached each day assuming he knew nothing, preventing the arrogance that stops growth. After 20 years of mastery, he still called himself a student. The price was everything soft in human life. He wrote about watching cherry blossoms alone, eating cold rice in winter, sleeping on stone. Not glorifying it, just honest about the exchange rate between comfort and excellence. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people want extraordinary results from ordinary effort. They want to be exceptional while maintaining balance. Musashi proved that physics doesn't work that way. Neither does skill development. The price of being undeniable is becoming temporarily unbearable. But here's where most people fail. They master the skill, but remain unknown. The final piece determines whether you matter. Part 4. The Art of Undeniable Proof. Musashi at 29 had transcended normal skill. 8 years of obsessive refinement created something extraordinary. Yet outside a small circle, nobody knew his name. He was another skilled ronin in a country full of them, talented but invisible. This is where most masters die, unknown. The craftsman with revolutionary techniques who never shares them, the genius who perfects their art in private. Excellence without evidence is worthless. Not because you need validation, but because impact requires proof. From 30 to 60, Musashi entered the demonstration years, not showing off, systematically building undeniable evidence. 61 documented duels, each one raising stakes, each one adding to the legend, each one making his name harder to ignore. The principle, systematic demonstration creates reputation, not random displays of skill, strategic proof building. Musashi didn't just win duels, he won them in ways that forced people to talk, using wooden swords against steel, arriving hours late, fighting multiple opponents, each victory designed to be memorable. But here's what Musashi understood that modern professionals miss. In Japanese philosophy, the progression is mind, action, result. First you think, then you do, then you become. The West reverses this, trying to become something through affirmation without action. You can tell yourself you're exceptional every morning. Without proof, you're lying. Not to others, to yourself. Musashi never claimed to be the best. He simply accumulated evidence until denial became impossible. The Kojiro duel exemplified this. Japan's most famous swordsman versus the wild ronin. Musashi arrived late, fought with a wooden oar, won in one strike. Not just victory, undeniable proof that conventional mastery meant nothing against his approach. Between duels, Musashi taught, but never as permanent employee. He'd train samurai for specific skills, then leave, building reputation while maintaining independence. Each student became living proof of his methods. Each school that tried to hire him validated his worth through rejection. Here's the crucial insight. Confidence comes from evidence, not affirmation. Every documented victory made Musashi harder to intimidate. Every proven technique made him more certain. The stack of proof created the mindset, not the other way around. Your portfolio speaks louder than your resume. Your results matter more than your claims. But most people hide their best work, waiting to be ready. Musashi published his victories in real time, each duel public, each result undeniable. At 50, something shifted. Lords who once dismissed him now sought his counsel. The same skills he'd always had suddenly mattered because the evidence had accumulated past the point of dismissal. Reputation compounds like interest, slowly, then suddenly. This is when Musashi made his most powerful choice. At the peak of demand, he rejected every offer and retreated to a cave. Spent his final years writing the Book of 5 Rings in Dokudo, trading immediate rewards for permanent legacy. Documentation multiplies demonstration. Those 61 duels mattered because they were recorded. His techniques survived because he wrote them down. Excellence dies with you unless you create evidence that outlives you. Desperation creates hunger. Isolation preserves uniqueness. Obsession builds excellence. Demonstration ensures legacy. 4 pieces that transform anyone willing to pay the price, but most won't. They'll develop skill without testing it publicly. They'll achieve excellence without documenting it. They'll create value without proving it. And they'll wonder why no one notices while someone with half their talent but twice their evidence gets all the recognition. Musashi died alone in a cave, but his name lives 400 years later. Not because he was the best swordsman, because he made it impossible to deny he was the best swordsman. The difference between forgotten and forever is evidence. The question isn't whether you want to be remembered, it's whether you're willing to pay the price. Most aren't. They want legacy with comfort, excellence with balance. Physics doesn't work that way. Neither does greatness. The path is clear, the price is obvious. The only variable is you. Musashi died alone in a cave, but his name lives forever. What will yours do?